Good day, everyone. I am Genesis Paul M. Rapon, and for today, I will be discussing to all of you the three approaches of aesthetics and integrating arts and creativity literacy in the new curriculum. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, let us discuss the three approaches to aesthetic. Aesthetics, also spelled as aesthetics, the philosophical study of beauty and taste. It is closely related to the philosophy of art, which is concerned with the nature of art and concepts in terms of which individual works of art interpreted and evaluated. Now, let us discuss the three approaches to aesthetics, starting off with the first approach. Number 1. The study of the aesthetic concepts, or more specifically, the analysis of the language of criticism, in which particular judgments are singled out in their logic and justification displayed. In his famous treatise on the Sublime and Beautiful on 1757, Edmund Burke attempted to draw a distinction between two aesthetic concepts, and by studying the qualities that they denoted, to analyze the separate human attitudes that are directed toward them. Burke's distinction between the sublime and the beautiful was extremely influential, reflecting as it did the prevailing style of contemporary criticism. In most recent times, philosophers have tended to concentrate on the concept of modern literacy theory, namely, those such as representation, expression, form, style, and sentimentality. The study invariably has a dual purpose: to show how these descriptions might be justified, and to show what is distinctive in the human experiences that are expressed in them. Now, let's go to the second approach. Number 2. A philosophical study of certain states of mind, responses, attitudes, emotions that are held to be involved in aesthetic experiences. Thus, in the seminal work of modern aesthetics, or the Critics of Judgment on 1790, Immanuel Kant located the distinctive features of the aesthetic in the faculty judgment, whereby we take up a certain stance towards objects, separating them from our scientific interest and our practical concerns. The key to the aesthetic realm lies therefore in a certain disinterested attitude, which may assume toward any object and which can be expressed in many contrasting ways. More recently, philosophers distrustful of Kant's theory of the faculties have tried to express the notions of an aesthetic attitude and aesthetic experiences in other ways, relying upon developments in philosophical psychology that owe much to Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, the phenomenologist, and Ludwig Wittgenstein, more precisely, the Wittgenstein of the Philosophical Investigations in 1953. In considering these theories, a crucial distinction must be borne in mind, that between philosophy of mind and empirical psychology. Philosophy is not a science because it does not investigate the causes of phenomena. It is a priori or conceptual investigation, the underlying concern of which is to identify rather than to explain. In effect, the aim of the philosopher is to give the broadest possible description of the things themselves, so as to show how we must understand them and how we ought to value them. The two most prominent current philosophical methods, phenomenology and conceptual analysis, tend to regard this aim of science. Indeed, the remarkable paucity of these conclusions may reasonably be attributed to their attempt to provide a theory of phenomena that have yet to be properly defined. Now, let's go to the final approach. Number 3. The philosophical study of the aesthetic object. This approach reflects the view that the problems of aesthetics exist primarily because The world contains a special class of objects towards which we react selectively and which we describe in aesthetic terms. The usual class singled out as a prime aesthetic objects is that comprising works of art. All other aesthetic objects such as landscapes, faces, objects, tropes, and the like tend to be included in this class only because and to the extent that they can be seen as art. If we adopt such an approach, then there ceases to be a real distinction between aesthetics and the philosophy of art. And aesthetic concepts and aesthetic experience deserve their names through being, respectively, the concepts required in understanding works of art and experience provoked by confronting them. Thus, Hegel, perhaps the major philosophical influence of modern aesthetics, considered the main task of aesthetics to reside in the study of the various forms of art and of the spiritual content peculiar to each. Much of recent aesthetics has been similarly focused on artistic problems, and it could be said that it is now orthodox to consider aesthetics entirely through the study of art. The third approach to aesthetics does not require this concentration upon art. Even someone who considered art to be no more than one manifestation of aesthetic value, perhaps even a comparatively insignificant manifestation, may believe that the first concern of aesthetics is to study the objects of aesthetic experience and to find in them the true distinguishing features of the aesthetic realm. Unless we restrict the domain of aesthetic objects, however, it becomes extremely difficult to maintain that they have anything significant in common beyond the fact of inspiring a similar interest. This means that we should be compelled to adopt the second approach to aesthetics after all. And there seems no more possible way of restricting the domain of aesthetic objects than through the concept of art. To sum it up, the three approaches may lead to incompatible results. Alternatively, they may be in harmony. Once again, it can only be at the endpoint of our philosophy that we shall be able to decide. Initially, it must be assumed that the three approaches may differ substantially or merely in emphasis, and thus that each question in aesthetics has a tripartite form. Now that we have finished discussing the three approaches to aesthetics, let us now discuss integrating arts and creativity literacy into the curriculum. Art and creativity teach problem solving, which is a critical skill for success in life. By engaging in artistic activities and study, children develop confidence in their abilities, and they learn how to innovate. The arts encourage risk-free exploration, and it is this freedom that builds confidence. Number 1. Physical environment. Design a physical environment to support creativity where students can reflect, design, and create, such as a campfire design school building or ceilings with murals. Number 2. Emotional environment. Take time to create and maintain a climate of respect and caring, and that supports making mistakes. Number 3. Project-based learning. Introduce choice, freedom, and space for creativity. The PBL units you design should be relevant, rigorous, and real-world in order to achieve the highest levels of student motivation, engagement, and learning. Preferably, they are interdisciplinary. Begin by brainstorming a theme, topic, issue, or idea you'd like the students to explore. Then, brainstorm the possibilities for each discipline. Number 4. Teach creative thinking skills. First, teach students about metacognition, thinking about their thinking. You can teach that to the little ones too. They love being able to know such a big word. Number 5. Alternative assessments. Instead of a worksheet or assignment in which every student creates a poster, Provide plenty of leeway for students to create products in a medium of their choice. Number 6. Scheduling. Project-based curriculum and performance-based assessments require adequate time. The most effective learning and teaching will take place when you create smaller learning communities. For example, 6 teachers with expertise in various disciplines who work with the same group of students all day every day. Another option, although not as effective, is creating a block schedule. Students will attend 3 classes per day instead of 6, and for 90 minutes each instead of changing class every 45 minutes. A daily schedule of 7 or more 45-minute class period per day is absolute anathema to creativity and learning. Number 7. Student-centered and personalized learning. Give students a voice and choice as much as possible regarding what they will learn, how they will learn it, and how they will demonstrate what they have learned. Number 8. Incorporate arts. Seamlessly integrate music, art, drama, and dance into your PBL curriculum. Try not to make creativity time be separate from the rest of the curriculum, but let these disciplines become a vehicle for delivering the curriculum while developing creativity. Number 9. Integration of technologies. Encourage students to create and utilize blogs and websites, video game design, coding, filmmaking, or global collaborative classroom projects using Google Hangouts, and etc. And lastly, number 10. Preparing the body and brain for creativity. Create activity that will induce body-mind integration, such as yoga, ballet, jazz, Zumba, and calisthenics, or etc. Conclusion. Bringing creativity and literacy together can be a powerful tool in teaching. It allows children to be active in literacy, from acting out plays through characters that they've made themselves or through making props. It allows children to explore their imaginations. Getting involved in a story reinforces the learning and can also teach practical skills, for example, working with the templates or basic sewing. Children are naturally creative. If you stop and listen to them, they often are natural storytellers. They love to make things up and will very often have imaginary worlds they will refer to. They also love to get involved in making things, giving them a sense of achievement. If they are engaged, they will learn more. So it's not about harnessing their ability to soak up information and to capture their imaginations, which can make teaching more fulfilling. That ends our discussion for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you've learned something from our discussion today.